All right, hello, and thank you for tuning into the Real Estate and Investment Show with Daniel Clavijo. I am Daniel Clavijo, coming to you from beautiful, sunny Palm Beach, Florida. What is the Real Estate and Investment Show, and who am I, you may ask? Well, our show wants to focus on the experience of amazing people in the real estate and investment space and share their knowledge with you, our wonderful audience. I truly hope that together we spark some ideas and inspiration for you, wherever that may be. And who am I? Well, I'm an architect grad from the University of Miami, MBA grad from NYU Stern, and I've been designing homes in Palm Beach and surrounding areas for over a decade. I now also get to share the stories of such amazing individuals with you. Questions or suggestions about our show, write to us at info@TheReandishow.com. That also spells there and is how.com, the abbreviated form for the Real Estate and Investment Show. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you enjoy your podcasts. We appreciate your help. Like, comment, follow, subscribe, and above all, share with your friends and family. It is thanks to you that we will be able to grow and bring you high-quality content and guests in the real estate and investment space. Speaking of which, we have an amazing guest with us today. He is one of South Florida's finest landscape architects. For over 25 years, his skillful hand and creative mind have designed, enhanced, and maintained some of the most beautiful gardens, pools, and public spaces in the region and beyond. There's also a little bit of inspiration of his faith in his work. We'll find out about the impact of the Garden of Eden. He is the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Dustin Mizell.
Wow, thank you, Dave. I'm not used to that much of a hyped introduction, but thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Dustin. It's great to have you on the show, and we've gotten to work together on quite a few projects over the years, and so I thought that, this is great that people get to hear the experience from a landscape architect, because landscape, it's so much more than just curb appeal.
Yeah.
There are the public spaces that you work on as well, the pools, entertainment, so it's all very involved, and whether it's for a home, public, or development purposes, you're very involved in the process. Yeah. So, as we say cheers.
Cheers.
Please tell the audience a little bit about your background, your bio, and please take it away.
Before I even do that, it's funny, in your introduction you mentioned like how important landscape is in architecture. When I was in grad school at FIU in Miami, studying for my thesis, I had a graduate professor. He was a Harvard Law, originally Harvard Law, and then he became a landscape architect, taught at Harvard. And the first day of class in grad school, he said, the two most misunderstood professions in the world are undertakers and landscape architects. Then he went on to clarify, an undertaker, people think like the movies, right, but they don't understand the science and everything behind it. And he said the second most misunderstood thing is landscape architects. And that didn't make sense to me. And he said, I'll tell you why. He said, eventually you'll graduate, you'll get out in the real world, and you'll be at a cocktail party and tell somebody, I'm a landscape architect. And they'll say, that's wonderful. My uncle works at the nursery at Home Depot. I mean, that's wonderful about your uncle, but that's not what we do.
Exactly.
Or, my cousin has a landscape business and he does maintenance, and that's fantastic, but that's not what landscape architects do. So I remember hearing that grad school going, that's not going to be true. And I tell you what, it really is true. So very few people, obviously architects really understand what landscape architects do. But yes, I'm a landscape architect here in Palm Beach, Florida. What a great place to work. The weather, the people, the culture, the demographics. I'm in the right place for sure. And so I have an undergraduate degree from Florida A&M. A long story how I got there, but then a degree in landscape construction and management. Ended up at Florida International for my master's degree in landscape architecture. And then I've been practicing here for the last 25 years in Palm Beach County.
It's been awesome. And as I understand, you originally started in architecture.
I did. I just always loved design. And, as a young kid trying to figure out what he wants to do in life, I'm like, wow, why not architecture if you like design? And so I was at Florida A&M University School of Architecture in Tallahassee, and loving it my first year. And then I really started to wonder, because I love the design part, I just wasn't sure about kind of the interior architecture portion of it.
Sure.
And so I took a little bit of a step back, and coincidentally, or providentially, however you want to say it, I tried to kind of repivot. I know in the design, I love design, but I wasn't sure I wanted to be an architect.
Right.
And there just happened to be a landscape program there. And I found out more about it and said, yeah, this is really the lane I want to go in. So it all worked itself out.
Awesome. And in that experience of architecture school, of course, it goes hand in hand with a lot of things you were able to apply in landscape architecture. What are some of the things that you find you've carried over across the years with that both best of both worlds, I'll say it?
Yeah, no, I think it was cool because to your point, I mean, I had a lot of the fundamentals of architecture in the beginning classes. So I think probably most specifically would be like spatial study. An architect, I mean, space is very important. The land, but you can find right within a building, and you figure out how to make the most of a space. In the landscape, sometimes it's so macro scale and so broad that you're thinking so big when you're not really thinking about the space. So I think the whole idea of like space planning and designing within a constraint helped me in the landscape, whether it's a small project, a large project, not just develop a pretty aesthetic landscape, but really create an amazing space like an architect would.
Yes, a different interpretation for escaping the forest for the trees.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, when you started working here in Palm Beach, how did that process go about with Environmental Design Group? What was your process with that?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, I got my graduate degree at FIU. I had the privilege at the time, during grad school, I was working for my dean. He actually had his own practice, which was fantastic. And I love working in Coral Gables, Coconut Grove. I mean, amazing homes, properties down there. And, but I was living in Palm Beach County, commuting, and boy, the traffic just got to me one day.
I did the same.
Yeah, and I said, I got to make a move. And just literally before the internet, so I found Environment Design Group in the phone book and reached out. And it's a long story, but a quick part of it is Frank Maroney was the original founder. He became a dear mentor and friend to me. And we started as a small firm. And then we were in West Palm for many years. Over there in the Como building, right off of Clematis Street, and 2008 hit, right, the economy, and when it comes to the bad economy, I mean, yes, construction stops, but the worst is landscape. I mean, construction stops in a bad economy, but if you have to redo a bathroom, you probably still do it. You might still do a kitchen, right? If you need a new roof or some other things, you'll still do that, but nobody will do garden work. Nobody will put a pool in an economy where the banks burst. So, we had a period, a couple tough years. So during that time, Frank, the original owner of the company, said, let's go to Palm Beach. We've got nothing to do. Let's rebrand ourselves. Let's focus only on high-end residential. And we'll wait till work picks back up again. So it was kind of a neat story, just moving from Miami to here, finding a super cool guy to work with. The economy hits. We move over to Palm Beach, say, let's regroup. The whole world's going to rebuild. And here we are today.
Awesome. And as that process developed, what is something that you found in that rebranding process? We, of course, here we focus on real estate investment, business development as well. And that's something that people can take into their own applications when they're looking at perhaps how they want to focus their business.
Yeah. I think, in a perfect world, if you can really refine your brand and really your market, right? That it helps, because I think when you're young or you're just trying to take whatever you can, you kind of find yourself everywhere, and that could be good, but it could be bad as well. Right. I think if you can get to the point and whatever that career is or that profession, and really say this is our brand, this is our market, this is our target, and it really helps you with strategy. And that strategy, I think eventually, if you stick to it, it'll make you an expert, and then that's where your value comes in.
Exactly. And in that same approach that you take on this leadership role, that you're not just a designer, but you're running the business, how was that process when you transitioned from partner to being lead for the company?
No, it's kind of funny. I tell people sometimes, like, I had this fantasy in graduate school, like that I'd be sitting in a small, beautiful office like you have here with a canvas and painting a Monet, and maybe there's a charcuterie board next to me and the classical music playing and just creating these landscapes. And I think that's a time period in your life, when you have that vision, and if your business grows and your opportunity outreach grows and you get an amazing team behind you, at some point you have to transition from being maybe the designer to really the navigator of the business. And so that's kind of where I am in today. I mean, I'm actively involved in all the projects and high-level design and in the standards and excellence. But you're right, to get to a point as you grow your business, you become not just the lead architect there. You hire people that might even be more talented than you, and then you run the business.
And it's always great if you can find somebody who you're not just the smartest person in the room, right? Because you're able to bounce off ideas, and the group makes you smarter and just more successful because they do have so much talent. And that's something that I've always found very interesting about your team. You have a very diverse international team that brings a lot of different skill sets. How did you go about when you look to hire somebody? What has been the success? Because I will also say from experience, you treat the team very well. It's it's amazing how there's a camaraderie there. So what can you tell us about how to develop a team?
No, thanks. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of talent in any industry out there. I don't look at talent at all, and I don't just say that in some theoretical or, curt way. I mean, I honestly, to your point, Daniel, I honestly I try to find good people. And when I find good people, I know that they'll benefit my business, and we make it work. I mean, so I have a story behind, currently we have 19 employees, which I think is a good size firm for a landscape architecture firm.
Absolutely.
I have a story behind how I found every person. And I just like to find good people, and I know good people around me will make me better. And I mean, you can find talented people. There's a lot of talented people out there, but I'd rather good people than talented people.
Excellent. And they're also, you give them credit where credit is due, and you also know how to lead them. It's a great team to work with.
Thank you.
Now, what happens when a client comes to you? What is more or less the process? What are some key considerations a client should take when they want to hire a landscape architect?
Right. I think honestly, architecture is one thing, real estate's another. Landscape's a little different in the fact that it's kind of should be the first component,
right,
and it should be the last as well. In other words, some people, they kind of do it a little out of sequence. They'll hire an architect. They'll work with them maybe 6-9 months, almost a year, love the house, love everything about it. And then they're like, okay, let's bring in a landscape architect. The better way of doing it is if we're brought in the very beginning and we're working with the architect. I mean, honestly, we find with that synergy, a lot of times the architecture will change.
Right.
It's like, listen, we have an amazing views over here. I mean, let's capitalize on that. And without me making architectural suggestions, architect might pivot because of that. The winds here, the shade, the things like this. So, hopefully we get in early with clients because we think we get the value. So we have a lot of effort in the beginning. We kind of go away a little bit during construction, but then we're back at the end making sure everything is perfect and every plant's in the right place. So when we interview a client or a client interviews us, I like to say we interview them as well because we don't want every client, obviously, right?
Sure.
We kind of just try to explain to them the benefit of having us, and not just to satisfy, some aesthetics things, but the value we bring if we're really involved from the beginning to the end.
Absolutely.
So I try to educate them a little bit, and some people buy into it, and some people are like, nah, we just need your code compliant plan. Can you help us? And we'll see if we can help them or not.
It's definitely like the site work is the first aspect. And as I always say, first you have to get a survey. But then when you're designing things here in Florida, at least, the areas that we've worked with, most of the time we don't have to deal with topography, which is nice. But in other places, it does become more involved. And I think who better than a landscape architect to bring that vision to it? Because we as architects, we do learn a little bit about that, but that's not our main training, right?
Yeah.
Now, you invest a lot of time in your projects. What are some key things that you always look for when you're starting out the project? What everybody has a different consideration, as you're saying, like there's the views, the winds, the solar, but what are some key things that you like to look at when you start off a project?
Yeah, I think going back to maybe what you alluded to in the beginning, my history coming from the architecture field, I think no matter if it's a small project, medium, or super large scale, I really want to look at every project and go, where can we create some really cool spaces? And I think that's a little different than some other landscape architects or designers who are looking like, okay, I want to create a pretty garden. I want, some flash points, some focal points, some pretty color, which is nice and important. But I go into a lot of landscapes where I don't find like surprising spaces or gorgeous outdoor rooms. And so every project, as the clients tell me, I was on a Zoom call yesterday with a potential new client. She was kind of walking me through her house, and I'm already thinking like, wow, what a cool little jewel box, what a cool little room we could do for her. So I think every project I go into is how can we create a really cool space,
Right.
And I think maybe that does come back from my architecture background.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have, as well, as you were mentioning, that experience of the economy and the time of rebounding.
Yeah.
What do you see kind of right now that we're in early 2026, the projection towards development in the area?
Yeah, in this area specifically?
Yes, in the areas you work.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, I'm no economist, but,
Me too. I mean, I hate making predictions,
yeah.
especially about the future. As
I know. And the world is so volatile. And, a social comment. I mean, when you do look at the world, we are so blessed, right? I mean, so much of the world, is just in turmoil. Here we live in this beautiful place in Palm Beach on the beach, right? It's incredible. So we're blessed. But all that said, I mean, my projections, I guess, when you look at the economy and hear the economists talk about the K factor of the economy,
right.
I think it does exist. I think, our market, your market, my market, obviously are, people in the top. And they do well and with versatility in the world. It's just how it is. So I think the forecast for us is good. Now, if you and I were sitting here on this podcast in Middle America, it'd be a different conversation. Middle America is a little different maybe now. So I mean, I'm certainly don't say that lightheaded. I know how blessed we are to be where we are in our market, but I think our market's strong. And, as I network, as I come into other professionals like yourself and other architects and everybody is very optimistic about our market. Again, we're in a bubble for sure. We're in a special place, but I think it's going to be a good year for all of us.
Right. What do you see as some things that, of course, you work in this market, but you also give back to the community and you do public projects. What are some of the public projects that you've worked on and that you are working on right now? We're having some really cool opportunities. We're doing some fun public projects for the town of Palm Beach itself. Yes. Hopefully this summer, the fire station on North End, we're doing a pretty little pocket park there in Wells Road, which is going to be really exciting. We're also working on the downtown development of the linear park along Worth Avenue and the clock tower where the public beach is. And so we're in the process of that, working through that with the town. It's going to be an incredible addition. A lot of dead space there right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of dead and active space. And they've got to put a new seawall in for, climate change and resiliency. And so it's literally going to blow up everything that's there now. So we're going to come back with something really exciting. But we also, those are community projects. We're also involved in some philanthropic. Thank you. I'm drawing a.
It's one of those tough words.
Yeah. So we're doing a really nice project downtown for a shelter right now. We're also doing some work at Ann Norton's Sculpture Garden as well to assist them with some summer projects, and so we're always really happy to assist. And if it's a nice project and we can contribute back to the community, we certainly do that pro bono many times. That's always excellent for people to know about, right? Because it helps as well, and you're giving back to the community, and people get to see your work where perhaps in one of these private settings they don't necessarily get to see. And even though you photograph everything and the website is excellent for people who want to get more of a idea behind your work. So do you have in this time period like a favorite type of project that you like to work on? I know that it's like choosing your favorite child. Yeah, right. That's really hard. I would say really just it has nothing to do with most of the stuff we do is obviously single family home residential. Right. That's probably 90% of our work because it's the demographics we are. That's 90% of Palm Beach, right? You got public and you got multifamily at the condos. And so, we do all of it, but gosh, I really just truly enjoy just a fun residential project with just a super cool client or a cool family, young or old, that it's not really a spec home, it's their house. Right. And when they talk to you about how they live, this is how we live, this is what we do in the morning, this is what we do as we're transitioning between work, or when we come home from work, this is the feeling, this is the ambiance we want. I mean, those are fun because you really feel like you're helping someone's lifestyle. And when someone says, we want this, God willing, to be like our forever home, I mean, it's a high bar. And so I think those are the most fun. When you work in condos, are cool and they could be contemporary and exciting and have all the bells and whistles, but you got 80 residents, and how many are you going to make happy, and how many are going to be there next year, and it's so transient.
Yes.
Then I think just a single family home with a cool family that's like, you know what, we want this to be our place. Can you help us? I mean, I think it's a privilege. It's fun. That's kind of, I think, what I really enjoy the most.
And piggybacking off of that, when you're dealing with clients, what are some key points that you have found to be successful over the years? What are some challenges and some inspiration overall that people can take from, how to deal with clients?
Yeah. I think the client relationship is very important.
Absolutely.
I feel like I have a good personality as far as like that I listen to clients, and I think that has a lot of value to them because like kind of in our business, it's there's a lot of egos involved as well, kind of just in the design world, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think if you can kind of have if you're approachable, if clients really feel like you listen to them, that has a lot of value, and that's really good in the beginning. I think sometimes when projects get hard, sometimes it's in the end. Maybe a project went on way too long. Not for anybody's fault, just the reality of life. Took way too long to get approved, way too long to get permits. The economy changed. They held it for a year. Then they started construction. Their contractor told them it'd take them 18 months. It took 3 years. And they over budget. And then by the time, that comes to what I would call the cherry on top, the garden, the landscape, they're so exhausted. Mm-hmm. They spent so much more money than they want. They come back to you and say, listen, we know you gave us everything we wanted. It costs us. What can we do for this? And so, and sometimes it's like the energy and that love, and it's nothing you did wrong. It's just, it's not there anymore because the process has worn them out. The money's worn them out. So then sometimes you feel, gosh, I wish we could have finished like we started, but it's just life and it happens. Not in every project, but you see it more than you think though.
Absolutely.
Especially with the landscape portion of it, because that's the expendable part.
Right. Yeah. There are so many unexpected things that can happen along the process. Any suggestions or tips you might give for how do people, let's stay on track, let's focus for next time?
Yeah. I think it's always using the right team. There's a lot of architects out there, but there's a handful of good architects going here.
Oh, thanks.
The same thing in the landscape industry. There's a lot of talent out there, but talent doesn't get people over the finish line. There's a lot of great GCs out there. A lot of powerful ones, a lot of big ones, but picking the right one. Owner's reps are good to have as well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people think an owner's rep it should be for a very, very large project. Not necessarily. They come as your advocate along a GC. So just suggestions. Pick the right people, the right team, and I think you do much better. It's not always about the price. It's not always about the bandwidth. Who do you synergize with? Who do you think's going to stick to their word, and who do you think's going to perform the best for you? And I think the projects will end up so much better.
Yep. There's always the price that you have to pay for quality. What helps you? I'll say from my experience, of course, as I mentioned, your team, your work, everything that we've done together, and hopefully we will keep working in the future is always excellent. But what helps people to see what stands out with your firm?
Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you what I hear. I always hear like, "Hey, listen, we really appreciate that you guys, listen to us, and you actually like keep your deadlines, and you perform." Mm-hmm. And again, to me, that's like, elementary, right?
Yep.
But in our business, it's not always standard though.
Right.
And I don't think it's because there's bad people running bad firms. I just think that again, in our market, everyone's so busy that it's hard sometimes to keep up, and you're taking on really big projects that are really time consuming, and no matter what your bandwidth is, it drains a lot of your your time. Mm-hmm. So I think what I hear from clients is, gosh, you guys listen to us, you're meeting the deadlines, you're not holding us up, and that's where our value is. And sometimes I tell the clients, like, well, I'll have interviews with a client, and they're like, okay, listen, I interviewed this person and you. Why would I choose you? It's like, it's almost like a job interview, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll even say, gosh, that other person you're interviewing, they're incredibly talented. I mean, they might be better than me, but the only thing differential I would say is I can't speak for them, but I can speak for myself, and we will perform. We will be on time, and we won't hold you up. So I can speak for that.
Never miss a deadline with Dustin from
I
previous
hope
experience.
not. If we do, I'm gonna shut down because that's what we're known for.
It's your reputation.
Yeah.
It's what you're saying. It's what you're known for, and it's great that people are able to experience that firsthand when they do. Now we live now in this world where technology has been evolving so much. Now we've got all the factor stuff with AI. Have you seen that impacting your business in any way, or what do you find as some tools that are useful that you're able to use with these new technologies?
Yeah, good question. Experimental phase. I don't know how much farther I'm going to honestly in my office take it from there.
Right.
I've seen actually it backfire recently. Yeah. I had a project with another architect, and who was just really, in schematic design, heavy using AI to develop models for clients.
Gotcha.
And I was on a Zoom call the other day, and a whole bunch of people, and the client's looking at an AI generated thing that's not even accurate as far as like the context of the site. And then post call, we've spent a couple weeks trying to clean up the client's perception of really what their site is, because the AI, didn't really depict it rightly, but the client has that in their mind. Right. And we've had to spend a lot of time trying to undo what something that took really quick to do. It's hard to retract once a client saw it. So, I know it's a shortcut. I'm more old school, obviously, a little farther on in my career. We're not using it in our office. We experimented a couple times with a couple things just to see if we could take something and elevate it, and if it could be benefit to it, not a supplement, or not in lieu of. And I wasn't happy with it. And I got smart people in my office. I mean, I got seasoned people. I've got people coming right out of grad school right now, so they're in the latest technology. And I don't see myself implementing it anytime soon. I might experiment a little bit, but I've seen it be less productive than more. Is it quick? Sure. Is it the right way? Jury's out on that.
Yes, I agree with you. I have found it to be, as you're saying, kind of a supplement sometimes. I'll use it to enhance renderings that I've already done.
Yeah, and that's our experiment. We'll enhance some renderings that we already developed, we already put in, and it helps with shadows and lights.
Right.
But
as a starting point, I think that our jobs are still secure in that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
There's a lot that, at the end of the day, all those things are just feeding it all the information that exists, and that might be easier for some fields that are more cut and dry, but for this creative aspect, that there's so many things that get involved with it. I think it's very hard to say for it.
I mean, maybe 25 years from now, it's a different conversation,
right?
But not in my career, I don't think.
Yeah. And in that same type of vein, where you're saying you're presenting these aspects to the client so that they can imagine what the place is going to look like, what the scene is going to be. I myself have some clients who have been able to pick up on things very quickly, and other ones who it's very difficult for them to imagine. What are some things that you've been able to use to help the client see the vision before it actually gets built?
Yeah. I think the most helpful thing, and it's even old school, back to the hand sketches, is really the three-dimensional aspects. Whether they're hand sketches or whether the high resolution modeling or whether video walkthroughs. Those to me, honestly, are always the best, because no matter how smart or seasoned the client is, and maybe it's their 8th or 9th, 10th home they built, plans are always difficult. Not because you have to be very well versed in architecture and understand them. It's a scale problem.
Yeah,
it's a scale problem. You can show a plan, but until somebody sees it in a different view, the scale is always the issue. Yeah. So
definitely a big consideration.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for people when they're going to find the plant selection that they want? That they'll come to you and say, "Oh, what type of planting it would really benefit the site? we like, for example, this type of palm, but you're going to say, oh, there's probably a better idea than
Right. The thing that I think that we find the most is, because of where we live and work, east, our biggest issues are the environmental. Salt and wind is a big problem. So we have clients all the time like, oh my gosh, I bought this amazing oceanfront estate. I want it to look so Florida. They're from Connecticut, they're from wherever. Right. And then the minute you start to tell them you can't have any color over here because it'll get beat up with the salt and wind. I mean, you see like the color drain out of their face, literally. And so it's really the environmental things. And then, if you have, like more of a midtown location, right? Urban, 2-story homes, incredible amounts of shade. And they want all of those other things to take full sun. So we really find it's like everyone knows aesthetically what appeals to them. But, when you're in a place like South Florida, the environment is so strong and it's so heavy that if you don't pick the right plant, I mean, it won't even last a season. So that's kind of the biggest thing is people, you meet a client and say, okay, here's all the plants we want. And you look at that and you're like, you hate to like start off the conversation negative. You're like, can you do this? And you're like, no, we can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on the ocean. You can't do any of that. And then you try to work with them and get creative. And then you try to show them, hey, listen, we've been doing this and we can show you the top 20 of the work. Let's pick from there. And or if they want to at least, well, I'll experiment. I said, okay, I'll help you experiment. Then I'll come back and help you fix it later too. So I mean, we'll do whatever you want to do, but we want you to know what you're doing first, so you don't have to do it twice.
Right. Yeah. It's very important to set those expectations from.
And some clients will do it. They'll say, I don't care. I'll replace it out every 6 months.
Yes,
right, that's not a problem.
Any gardening tips you want to give people for the spring that we're? Which spring in Florida is like summer all the time, but
yeah, it is. Plant now. I mean, hopefully, we've had a lot of dryness.
Yeah,
we've gotten like these little splashes of rain, and it's really heavy and ground saturated, but then it just goes drought. So I think we got the rains coming. It's a great time to plant now. Better than the middle of the summer. So, if you want to refresh your garden, do some pretty in the pots, do it now. I mean, the weather, I think we're done with the cold. I think the rain and the sun's going to be really pretty. So it's a good time to have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other projects that have been outside of the South Florida area that you've worked on that you've found interesting?
Yeah. I mean, most of our market really is in South Florida.
Right.
We've done a handful of things for clients we have up north and our clients in the Bahamas and things like that. There's some stuff in Texas, but really just like planning and stuff, and then the local people take it over there.
Right.
I think our value is the way we run our office. It's more like a boutique office that sure we can design anywhere in the world, and we can. We've done design developments for clients wherever. But our value really comes in, being on the project, making field adjustments, approving local materials, approving layouts, adjusting things in the field. I always tell my clients, like, we'll make our drawings as detailed as possible, but at the end of the day, we have to be there. Architecture is a little different. I mean, you guys make changes on the fly, but by the time you really do your drawings, they're pretty good. Like, I mean, you could go on vacation 2 months and come back and not worry that the building's going to look differently,
Right.
And if I'm in the middle of a project, I really can't do that because I could come back and it could look vastly different. Okay. The paving layout, they made some changes that weren't appropriate. I couldn't find this plant, so I bought this one. No, I don't like that one. Or I couldn't find this size, so we scaled down, but we doubled the quantity. Dustin, it's the same thing. No, there's a reason why I had that size. So I think, our value is to be the local guys on site. And I mean, our drawings, we call them instruments of service. So here you can build it. Call me at your open house. We'll come have an hors d'oeuvre together. But our value comes in the boots on the ground. So yeah, we can work everywhere, and we do it occasion. But our value is the local component.
And to that local component as well, you're of course also working with subcontractors, essentially, right? You've got the nurseries, the gardeners, the landscapers. What do you find when you're picking that team that has been helpful for you over the years?
Yeah, good question. Because we're in a heavy market. There's 1,000 of every one of those categories you mentioned, plus more. I think just being here and established for a long time, has helped me kind of vet like my top people
Right.
And so, I'll have clients say, hey, can you recommend somebody? And I'll say, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you 2 or 3. It's always good to price. But the good thing is the subcontractors, to your point, I always recommend people that I know 100% they'll perform for me, and they haven't even met the client.
Right.
Because if they know if they don't meet my standard, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I tell my clients. I said, listen, I'll recommend 2, 3, however you want. But the good thing is, they'll perform for me before they even know you. Eventually, they'll fall in love with you and perform for you, but they'll perform for me.
Right.
And I have to have the relationship with my landscape contractor. I'll give an example. A great relationship with my landscape contractors. He was working on a project that I recommended him. Planted 2 date palms, which are very expensive.
Yeah.
And in nature you can't match everything perfectly, but boy, we can get close.
Mm-hmm.
He planted 2 date palms in front of a house here in Midtown, Palm Beach. Looked great. I thought they were wonderful. We had all approved them. Owner had approved them. Planted them, and when he planted them, the owner called me about 2 days later and said, "Hey, meet me over the house." Went to the house. He goes, "Let's stay on the street. Let's look at the opposite side of the street." He goes, "You notice that one's about 6 inches taller, the trunk of it?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah," because the nut, the head of it was a little different.
Right.
He goes, "Man, it's really bothering me." He goes, "Anything we do, can we lift it?" I go, "Well, you can't lift it. Certain things you can do that because then the roots are exposed." I said, "It's in the middle of a grass." I go, "You can cut the roots of the other one at the top. It's going to put a lot of balance." I go, "They're pretty close. I mean, it's nature. It's not going to be perfect." And he goes, "It's really bothering me."
Oh boy.
And he goes, "Do you think we could replace it?" And these are expensive palms, right?
Of course.
I mean, 15,000. You got to get a crane or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, if it's really bothering you, we'll replace it. And so I called my landscape contractor and I said, "Listen, man," I go, "Can you take this? Take it to your mom's house, plan it for her for Mother's Day, whatever it is. But will you replace it?" And he goes, "Dustin, 100%." He doesn't know the client, but what he knows me.
Of course.
And he knows that goes a long way, and he's going to make that money back in the next project or whatever. Yeah. Excuse me. So that's the value of having a local guy that has subs that respect him. Mm-hmm. Everyone wins.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so he did it at no cost. But I wouldn't expect anything less. But that's the kind of relationship that I have with the people that work for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
It comes from developing over time and just to
and that takes time, years. Not months, years.
Absolutely. Yeah. How about going into the fact that landscape architects as well, they're designing the hardscape, the driveways, the pool areas. What are some fun things that you enjoy about those aspects?
Yeah. I think those are cool because, back to that component of creating space, a parterre hedge or a clipped hedge could, frame a space as best as it can, but the hardscape really, says, this was intentional. People can call a paver guy and say, "Hey, here's my survey. Can you sketch out a new driveway?" Sure, more than qualified to do that. But is it intentional? Is it thoughtful? Does it relate to the house? Does it create the space? Is it the right scale? I mean, so hardscapes is really fun.
Yeah.
Some people are good at landscapes and plants and beds, but terrible hardscape designers. If you can do both, that's awesome, and I think we can do pretty good at both.
I'll even admit that times that I've worked on and laid out a driveway or a pool, and you and your office come with some very cool ideas.
Cool. Thanks.
I really appreciate that
because it's a different mind. Like you said, you're so focused as an architect in the house and the structure, and some sight lines that go. It kind of makes sense for a pool here, but we come in, we're looking at a completely different angle, and so that's how that synergy is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you're working with the general contractor or the architect or the engineer, you're starting. It's the design is over. Now you're in the weeds and you're actually doing this stuff. What are some key things that you like to lay out for that groundwork when the project's developing to make sure that they follow everything?
Yeah. No, I think, just being involved. I mean, in a perfect world on a nice project, I mean, we want to be included on the weekly OAC meetings, because, like a general contractor that doesn't maybe, not that they devalue it, but they don't see your value, might say, "Oh, Dustin, we can include you at the end." But, there'll be decisions in the beginning. A site wall decision was made that I might have had a different opinion on. Right. The civil engineer, he's got to come in early and maybe lay some of the drainage in the beginning. And, they might have put a drain that made no sense where they put that. Mm-hmm. And early on, we could have avoided that. And because of that, the pool deck might have looked different. I mean, or the grading, like this was designed, yes, it was approved, but in the field, as we look at it, that grading doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, if we had one more step, we can literally eliminate this issue. So, I think in a perfect world, you know, with the right architect, the right GC, they see your value as opposed to the guy that come in and shrub it up in the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and gosh, I think we save our clients a lot of like dissatisfaction if we're involved in the beginning. And it's no fault of anybody else's, but it's no vision of anybody else's but a landscape architect that would catch these things or see these things.
It's a tricky business.
Yeah. Like I went to a project the other day, and I'm looking at the plans. I go, man, something doesn't feel right. And the contractor's like, oh, I moved this wall 8 feet back.
Oh, my gosh.
We go, 8 feet back? I mean, you don't have approval for that. I'll have to clean that up later. But he's like, yeah, we had the transformer here. They got put in mid-construction. And I was like, yeah, but that wall could have been different.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, but a contractor's not going to have that vision. He knows how to do it.
Yeah.
He knows how to fix a problem. But I know how to be creative with fixing a problem.
That's excellent. I love it. Creative about fixing a problem.
Yeah, trying.
Tell us a little bit about your faith and how it inspires you, and the story of the Garden of Eden that goes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that comes up because, you know, we're having a small chat one day. I mean, you know, I always, you know, sometimes people say, because I grew up in a Christian home.
Yes.
A traditional Christian home, you would call it. My father's a pastor. He's been a pastor for 44 years.
Wow.
Same church. So, yeah, so people always ask me, hey, you're a religious guy. I'm like, nah, I'm not really a religious guy. But my faith is the most important thing to me. So I think that's a, you know, easier, more authentic way to say it. But so grow up in a home like that, you know, I kind of thought it was cool that I ended up going from architecture to landscape architecture because, you know, I mean, you know, as a Christian, obviously, like, you know, the whole Genesis account is super important and really special. And so you think of the Garden of Eden and, you know, the whole, I guess, point about that is it was a place of peace for a moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you always relate to that with my faith because it's like when I step in a really cool garden, you know, I don't feel anxiety. I don't feel like pressure. And if I'm stressed out, boy, it really brings you down. I mean, why are there meditation gardens? Why are there healing gardens? You know, why are there therapeutic gardens? Is because there's something about a garden. Like when somebody steps in there, they're like, okay, like the world has like been quiet for a second.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's innate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never met somebody that like went into a garden and goes, oh, this garden causes me anxiety. Unless it's a bad design. But if you go into a pretty thoughtful garden, it's gorgeous. Everybody that goes in and goes, gosh, this is amazing. And people what? They pay entrance fees to go to what? Amazing gardens and botanical gardens and amazing estates and showcases and things like that. And so, you know, if mankind, you know, as a whole, innately appreciates like the peace of a garden, I think it does relate to maybe the Garden of Eden. So maybe that's what kind of, you know, brings those two things together for me, I think.
Totally. I mean, like, we have to get back to nature, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And here we're blessed with having so much nature, but you live in a dense city, concrete jungle, and people want to go to parks and whatnot.
Yeah.
And here, to be able to have their own little slice of heaven in a garden, that's always pretty amazing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is. Yeah.
So here's a question that I ask everybody on the show. To date, what has been your best investment personally and professionally?
Oh, boy. Best investment personally. That's a really good question. I think personally just, you know, obviously my family. I'm very blessed. I got a beautiful wife, 2 children. And, you know, just made some good decisions, I think, in life. I mean, not by any wisdom. in hindsight, looking back at it, just investing in my family and our children and keeping him local, even through college and things like that. It's just been a blessing to like this season in my life and my wife's.
Awesome.
You know, I think, you know, you've got the other perspective. You get married, you have some kids, and they go to UCLA, they go to NYU, and those are super cool things. And you're excited for them, and you know, with our kids staying, like it was a transitional period. Like, what does this next season of life look? Do our kids go and do their own thing? And by them staying here, it's just been a neat thing. So I think just investing in like my family made this season of my life different than it could have been in a good way.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think professionally, honestly, was it was a mistake or an accident. And it really was going to work for Environment Design Group, which I'm currently the president of.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I told you a story, but I'll be quick about it if that's
Please.
okay. But it needs a couple minutes to
Of course.
get it out.
Give us.
You know, I had the privilege when I was undergrad to work for one of my professors.
Right.
And he was a landscape architect, and it was just him and me. So I worked for one guy. When I went on to graduate school, I had the privilege, as I mentioned earlier, working for my dean.
Yes.
But actually, his wife worked for him as well. They were both landscape architects.
There you go.
So now there was 3 of us. So my first job, there was 2 of us. My second job, there's 3 of us. And when I finally decided to do something different, I said, you know what? I'm going to go work for a big firm. I mean, my whole experience working was with one person,
Right.
and it was 2. I needed to try the big firm mentality. And so when I came back to West Palm and I opened the phone book, because there was no internet then, looked at individual names, landscape architect, John Smith, landscape architect, Jane Doe, landscape architect. I came across Environment Design Group. I'm like, that sounds huge. I go, this is what the change in my life I need. So I called the number. The gentleman answered. I said, may I speak with someone in human resources? He goes, well, I'm the president. I go, wow, I got right to the president. And so I was just shocked. So, you know, I told him, he asked me what I needed. I said, hey, listen, I'm looking maybe for a job. I'm kind of transitioning. He said, why don't you come and interview? I said, fantastic. He said, you know where the convention center is on Palm Beach Lakes? He goes, we're in the Forum building. He goes, it's a 5-story building. I'm like, wow, a 5-story building for a landscape architect. That's impressive. He goes, there's a parking garage. I'm like, wow, a parking garage for a landscape architect? So he's already got me in, right?
Right.
He says, you'll come in, there'll be a secretary, you'll have a seat, should come find me. So I dress in a suit, I find the building, I find the parking garage. I'm like, this is the energy that I'm looking for. I need to shake my life up a little bit. So I go in there, the woman greets me at the desk, and she says, Mr. Maroney, be with you in a moment. I see the hustle and bustle, people walking around with plans. I'm like, this is incredible. I mean, I need this kind of experience. I was young. And she goes, he'll see you now. And they're walking me through these corridors, and I'm seeing cubicles and conference rooms. And I'm like, this
full-blown operation.
This is exactly what I wanted. So we go up the stairs. She introduces it to me. Long story short, it comes out that that's not his building. He's literally renting a 6-foot desk in the corner of a mezzanine with an architect's office.
Yep.
So it was just him. Wow. So I went from 1 employee to 2, and I was going to go big, and I went back to 1. Right. And I remember driving home going, this is not for me. This is not for me. I can't go backwards. I need to go forward. And so I was going to just give him a hard no. He called me a couple of days later and said, gosh, I have this little small job. I know you're still working in Miami commuting. You know, you could probably knock it out in 2 weeks. Why don't you just help me out? You make some extra money. I was young, married, had no money, broke. And I said, yeah, I can do that. And he goes, well, just take it from there. I said, sure, I'll make some money in 2 weeks. So we did it. You know, he seemed like a cool guy. He had something else for me. And then one day I got just tired of commuting. And he said, Dustin, if you want to work here, I have more work. So I said, I'll give it a chance. But it was like begrudgingly, though, because I didn't want to go backwards.
Right.
You know, if I really want to go forward in my career, I mean, I can't work just for one person. I've already done that. I worked for 2, and that's as far as I went. I need something different and big. But you know what? I took a chance and invested in him. And, you know, jump ahead here, 25 years later, I would have crafted like what that relationship, what that decision would eventually lead to. I mean, unfortunately, the goal was that Frank would, you know, outwork me and I'd retire before him. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, life, he came down with cancer and fought hard and didn't make it, unfortunately. But I kept it going, and, you know, to jump ahead to see that investment in him, because I liked him, and the tremendous mentor he became to me, the friend, the business, the brand, the economy, the reboot, and to where I am today, man, I just feel so blessed, and you know, and I took a chance, and sometimes chances in life work out, sometimes they don't, and I took a chance, and I can't be more grateful or blessed.
And you turned Environmental Design Group into that full-blown operation that you were looking to join. So that's
I'm
amazing.
Humbled. Yeah, I'm humbled.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Well, I've asked you a lot of questions, but now you got to ask yourself one. Do you know how that's going to work?
No, but let's do it.
If you can move your leg just a little bit. You got to pick a question.
Okay.
Out of a fishbowl.
Okay. All right.
All random questions. It's a little fun part.
I have glasses on me. Hope I can see this.
Oh, boy.
Let me see. I can read it again. If your life was a book, what would this chapter be called? Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Wow. Unbelievable.
That's great.
And I think I would say that based on the story I just told you.
Mm-hmm.
When I went backwards, I had no expectations. I was just hoping I could, pay my bills like everybody else. And, to see jump ahead, what, and I have to, be truthful, what God's done in my life. I mean, it is unbelievable. And I'm excited about what the next chapter could be titled.
Yes.
But I think I would chapter this one unbelievable.
That's terrific. All right. We're about to wrap up, but let me ask, do you have a suggestion for a future guest on the Real Estate and Investment Show?
Yeah. I think I would bring, because I listen to some of your other podcasts, and so you got some really great guests, and I think I would bring somebody in from like somewhere in the construction industry here on the island.
Yep.
I mean, this is a unique place to build.
Mm-hmm.
I have, we have clients from all around the world that built dozens of homes. And they come to Palm Beach and go, wow, we didn't know. It's so, interesting, or it's different to build here. And so I think you could bring someone, whether it's an outside build, inside, GC, landscape contract. I mean, bring somebody in here, that's really involved on this island, because they can tell you, where the money's going, where the value's coming back, right?
Yep.
Like I was at a project the other day, and a client said, I want to do this, this, and this. And, and I'm like, I don't think you ever get that money back. I mean, it's not easy to do that here. Mm-hmm. It's going to cost you a lot of money, even just to get approved, a lot of money to get done and do it. I don't know if you're going to get it back. And here's the process. And she was shocked. And she's like, Dustin, I built a house. I go, this is Palm Beach.
Yep.
It's a different process. So maybe bring somebody in there. I mean, kind of educate your audience of, listen, it's a great place to live, but you got to go through it.
Absolutely.
And once you get through it, it's worth it. But just a thought.
Sounds like a plan. And last but not least, it's time for the shameless plug. What is something you're working on right now that everybody ought to know? And, of course, where can they follow/find you?
Okay. Well, they can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and obviously our website or whatever, or stop into the Paramount building. We're right down the road there. So we're excited about that. Boy, gosh, I'm working on something super cool. Unfortunately, obviously, there's an NDA, but I'll put a teaser out there.
Terrific.
Okay, how many landscape architects in Palm Beach have a client that wants to design and install a wine orchard on their property?
Wow.
So
interesting.
that will be bottled potentially.
Wow, that's
so. I'm working on something fun then.
Okay. Well, maybe when we get more information, we'll share that with the audience.
There you go,
Dustin. I want to thank you so much for your time and being on the show. We're going to give you another big round of applause.
Thank you.
And, of course, they put all the show notes that'll have so people can reach out to you. But thank you for sharing your journey, your experience, and being such a wonderful guest.
Thanks. It was fun. Appreciate
on the show. And thank you so much for being here with us. Join me again next time with another amazing guest on the Real Estate and Investment Show with Daniel Clavijo. I'm Daniel Clavijo. Till then, stay awesome, everyone. And God bless America.